In this video, we're going to be replacing the door lock actuator on the 2005 Honda Element. So we're going to need to remove our door panel. To do that, we're going to need to remove this interior trim here for our mirror cover. We're just going to reach around to the inside window side of this panel. Start at the top. If you can get your fingers behind here, just go ahead and pop it backwards. There's going to be one plastic push pin on the top that you're going to need to pop out, and these two bottom clips are just going to sit down in here. So we'll pop this out and set that aside. Next thing we're going to do is need to remove our door handle and power lock. We're going to open our handle, a small pocket screwdriver, and pop this cover off, and that'll give us access to these two small Phillips screws behind here. We need to remove those. So the top one you can get without the handle being open. Once you have those two removed, what we're going to do is take our handle assembly, slide it or lean it forward and up. That'll allow us to get to our electrical connection for our lock and unlock button and remove that connector. From here, on the back of this handle, there's going to be a rod connecting down to your latch. We're going to need to use a small pocket screwdriver or something that will allow you to remove the plastic retaining clip on that rod, and then pop the rod up and out of your handle. So here's that retaining clip. All right, so now that we're going to be doing a door handle, an exterior door handle, to gain access, there's going to be a couple of screws inside the door panel on the back of the handle. To gain access there, we're going to need to put our window up. That way when the door panel is off and disconnected, our window is up and out of the way. So behind here, right about here, you're going to have a metal retaining clip. We're going to get under here with the panel tool and release that retaining clip. Now you should be able to slide that piece right out. And here's that retaining clip. We're going to focus on the outside of the door panel all the way around. Make sure there are no other screws or anything else stopping the panel from coming off, and there aren't. So we're going to use a panel tool, and we're going to get between the door panel and the actual door frame itself, and we're going to pry outwards. We're going to take our panel tool, put it between the door panel and the door itself, and we're going to pry outwards. There are going to be some retaining clips that we're going to look or listen for them to pop out. Again, being careful around our already broken area. All right, so we're starting to relieve those clips. Once the speaker cover is off, you'll notice the door panel is still stuck. It's pretty loose all the way around except for this area here. So we're going to need to remove these 3 Phillips screws holding our speaker in. This is a delicate job here. If your Phillips screwdriver slips and punctures the speaker, you will potentially ruin the sound of the speaker. Ours is deteriorating, so we're going to try not to make it any worse. We're going to remove these 3 screws. Now your speaker is probably going to be held in by a couple of plastic tabs on the metal frame here. Just go ahead and release the speaker. Now from here, because we are taking the door panel off, you're going to need to remove the electrical connection on your speaker. Just squeeze these tabs and remove or separate the plug. There we go. Now we can set our speaker aside. And now you'll notice our door panel is free. From here, what you're going to want to do is pull your door panel inwards and push up. From the bottom is going to be a metal retainer here that's going to clip up and over. You're going to want to push the door panel up and off of that. Once you have it to this point, what we're going to do is work on the inside and remove the electrical connections. So on the inside of our door panel, we have our harness going to our switches. We have 2 plugs. We're going to address the front one first. I'm just going to squeeze the tab and pull out our electrical connection. There we go, there's one. With your front one out, you have a little bit more room now to rotate this panel to get a little bit better grip on it. And remove your second plug. Now you can set your door panel aside. Before we move forward, now that you have your door panel off, before you go and dig inside here, what you want to do is look where your clips were holding your door panel on. You'll notice we have a few plastic clips still remain in the door itself. You want to take these out and put them back on the door panel. And in our case, this one up here is actually broken. A piece of the door panel, this plastic piece here, this gray plastic, stayed with the clip. So what you want to do is take these out of the door and put them back on the door panel the best you can. We're going to have a couple issues. Our door panel is broken in a few different areas. Once you have those out and back on your door panel, we can move forward. Get behind this plastic weather seal here. To do that, we're going to need to pop this tab here out. We're just going to use a small pocket flat screwdriver or a panel tool, whatever you need to do just to remove this. Alright. Sometimes these will fall out, sometimes they'll stay in, just don't lose it. And from here, you'll have some glue holding this weather covering in place. I'm just going to peel this back. We're actually just going to pull this right off of this here and continue to remove this. All right, that should be pretty good. If you need to go back further for access, you can. We'll leave it right about here. We're actually going to take our plastic, we're going to fold it over, reuse this glue, and just stick it out of our way over there. So behind here is going to be access to a 10mm bolt. We have access straight through here for one of them. The other is going to be behind here, so we're going to have to take this clear plastic sticker off. Now, if you can take this off to the point where you can reuse it, even better. So take your time. We're actually going to take this right off, and we're going to stick it to the window. So now we're going to get to our door lock actuator. It's going to be on the back of this latch here. This latch is a big unit inside here held in by these 3 screws. You want to use a big Phillips head screwdriver. You don't want to risk stripping these out. So we're going to get in here with a big head Phillips screwdriver, push in, and remove these screws. So while that one's still in, I'm going to get this one going. Sometimes I like to do one left in and take it out by hand. Sometimes this latch will drop. So this one seems like it's pretty well stuck in place. So we'll take those 3 out, and now we'll work on the inside of the door to remove that latch. So this cable here is going to be running to our latch or to our door lock actuator. So to give us a little bit more room, once we release that from this area, we're going to remove or just pinch this cable clip here and push it through. And that'll allow us a little bit more freedom once we get our latch pulled this way. So if you follow this cable up, you'll find this entire mechanism here. If you wiggle that, you'll see it is attached up here. All right, so we're going to remove this clip. Then just kind of push it in and set it inside there. What that will do is give you a little bit more freedom with this mechanism here. So if you'll notice, this whole mechanism, the latch and the door lock actuator, is held up by your window track. Your window track is also held in right here by this 10mm bolt. So what we're going to do is back out this 10mm bolt. And what that will allow us is a little bit more room to maneuver our latch mechanism out. What we're looking for is our door lock actuator. Now, what we can try and do is pop this rod to remove this latch assembly. You're going to need to remove it or disassemble it from your door handle. So you have two rods. There's one here going to your lock cylinder, and there's one above it. It's a little bit thicker going to your door handle here. So if you want to remove the latch assembly completely, you're going to need to remove those two connections there. So we'll go ahead and do that now. All right, so there's half of it, and we can just try and pull it out. So there is our door handle. You can see we're getting a little bit more leverage here. And the last bit is it's going to be a little C-clip right here. Now that you have the C-clip removed, you can take this latch rod or the lock cylinder rod right off. And now what you can do is work the entire mechanism out. All right, so there is our latch and our door lock actuator. So now that we have this out, we can remove our electrical connections. We're just going to squeeze these locking tabs and pull the plugs off. We'll start here. There we go. Now we can take this to the bench and we'll swap over our door lock actuator. So now we have to take off this metal bracket here. A Phillips screwdriver, just back this screw out. We're going to be very careful once we remove this screw. We're only going to disassemble what we need to. We want to be very careful because we can see that this goes through here. All right, so we're going to try and pop this out. Okay. And on the top here, there'll be a couple of clips underneath it. So we've got it apart. I'm going to continue to work that out. We're going to allow this to drop off and set it aside. We need to get under here with the flat blade screwdriver, release that clip. We're going to do the same on the bottom. Just going to come right in here, release that clip, and see if we can pull this actuator straight out. So we have our old door lock actuator and our new door lock actuator. Make sure everything lines up, pins are in the same place, everything looks good. We'll notice here that these two aren't facing and aren't aligned the same direction. We're just going to align those the best we can before we go ahead and put this in. We're going to align our bottom locking tab and our top, and we're just going to push straight in. So now to reassemble, it's going to go in like this. This long arm is going to catch this lever here. All right, so it's going to do this motion. And then make sure you seat on the shoulder here, all the way down flush. So it's going to look like that. Once you're in that position there, we can take our cover. We're going to put our cover, there's a leg here that's going to go in. And we're going to align over here. And clip down. Then what you want to do is flip it over. You want to make sure you are aligned correctly and this arm here didn't move. So what I did here is use a pair of needle nose and squeeze right here. What you're looking for is this plastic clip to come all the way through and clip in place around here. And that squeezes everything together here. Okay. Once you've got that done, we can reinstall our Phillips screw here. Now we're going to take our latch mechanism and we're going to feed it up in. We've moved our window track up and out of the way. So now our hurdle is going to be getting our actual lock up and through this hole here. Once we have that, make sure the rest of our rods are actually behind the panel. We can then take our latch mechanism and twist it to about this point, plug in our electrical connections. It's a little bit easier to do in this position than when it's mounted. And now we can raise our latch mechanism into position. Again, just trying to keep that lock cylinder rod in place, upright. Screw in our latch somewhat snug to hold it in position. I'm just going to snug this up with a Phillips screwdriver, not a drill. You don't want to strip these out. And now on the inside, we're going to connect our lock cylinder rod back to the back of the lock cylinder. And we're going to replace our C-clip. Push that into place. Just be prepared for these. They might shoot around if they pop off inside the door. Now from here, we can move to our upper rod, which is actually going to be our door handle. Push that through and then close this catch here. So if you've opted to take this out, this is going to be your interior door handle rod. If you've opted to take this out, now's the time to put it in. We're going to feed that rod in through this upper hole. You can clip it in if you want to, just to hold it. We're not going to. We're going to reach in through the bottom, grab a hold of the end of the rod. And we're going to look straight down through this opening here. You'll see your blue clip, or your spot where you're supposed to push it into. And then we'll push down our blue clip to hold it in place. There we go. Now that that's clipped in, just check that function. Straight bar of this rod should line up right here. You can clip it right in. Just push in. Now you can put this back in, which is going to be your cover here. Put it in through the bottom. Line up the top. And it's going to go up against and onto your latch mechanism housing, the whole white housing in there. Once that's in place and this hole lines up, go ahead and put our push clip in. Again, just check the mechanism, make sure things are free and everything works. Now on the door jamb side, we can reinstall our other two screws. Again, using a Phillips screwdriver, not a drill. Now once you get this far, you're going to want to test the functionality of the door. Open, close, locked, unlocked a few times before we go ahead and close it up for good. So now we want to reinstall our window track. We're going to line up this bracket here with this bolt hole. $10 we can tighten that down. Reposition our moisture cover here, a moisture barrier. We'll start by plugging in this corner. Getting things repositioned. And stick it back down. All right, and we have one more little area here. We just want to tuck this in behind. Everything else looks good. There, you may or may not get this to stick back 100%. Do your best. Sometimes what you can do is just take a little bit of it. Take a little bit of it and knead it, and then reposition it in an area that won't stick. Once you're happy with that and everything looks like it's back to where it should be, reposition and put up your door panel. So now you just replace your missing clips. Again, ours was broken up here, but if you had any missing and you took them out of the door, now's when you want to put them in. And we can take this to the vehicle. We're going to plug in our electrical connections first. All right, so now we're going to connect our electrical connections. Just going to plug them in. So we get a nice positive click. We have 2 connections here. And this plug here is going to go up to your door locks. So we're going to feed that through there. We're also going to feed our lock here through. Center it up. Push inward to the window and straight down. All right, so once you are on this metal lip here, we can go ahead and start pushing our door panel back into the door. Start seating these clips all the way around. Again, we have to be careful down this area. It's broken. So I like to look around the side, visually line up my clips, and just follow them up with a good solid tap. All the way around the perimeter. Give it a little tug. You should feel the door panel is tightly seated to the door. We can pull out our speaker cable and our speaker. Again, remember our speaker holds the panel to the door as well. We'll plug back in our speaker. Align the bracket. And our 3 Phillips screws holding in our speaker. Once your speaker is installed, put your cover on. Cover is going to go in on this side first. And push in the rest of your clips. Now we can move up to our interior door handle and our lock and unlock switch. You notice that our electrical connection for our lock and unlock fell behind. A lot of times you can reach in and pull it right back out. So we'll do that last. We're going to connect our handle rod first, and then from there we can put in our mirror cover. This is going to go in these bottom 2 tabs down in first. And then push that clip in. On this side, we're going to slide down into place and then push this clip in.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.